2022 is here, and it promises to be a huge one for triathlon. So which triathletes will make 2022 theirs, and who will break through to the big time? We decided to try our hands at predicting the future. It's the start of the year, and it promises to be a big one. Not one, but two Ironman World Championships in the same year.
Oh yeah, and also we have the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. We have a full WTCS series and Super League for the short course athletes out there.
And that's not mentioning the newly sanctioned by World Triathlon World Championships, the eSports Arena Games. Triathlon becomes an esport.
Wow, lots in store for the short course athletes, but for you guys out there maybe into some of the longer stuff, we have the Ironman 70.3 World Champs, the Collins Cup, the PTO Tour, and of course the attempt at a sub-7 and sub-8 hour iron distance.
Like we said, it's going to be a big year. I'm getting pretty hyped myself already. But the question is, who are we going to be watching at these events? Who is going to shake things up and turn heads?
Well, we have tried to compile a list. So first, let's discuss the ones everyone's already watching, starting with Christian Blumenfeld.
Yeah, of course, everyone's watching Christian Blumenfeld. He had a pretty impressive 2021. So everyone's wondering what he can do in 2022. Now, he won every distance in 2021. So what distances is he going to do in 2022? Is he going to do both Ironman World Championships after his very impressive Ironman in Cozumel? Is he going to do 70.3 World Champs and the PTO Tour now, which is all that money, and the Collins Cup? Or is he going to go back to WTCS and the Arena Games and the Super League, where there's also a lot of money up for grabs? I mean, he could do everything, but surely he can't do everything.
And let's not forget his little sub-7 attempt.
And that sub-7, sub-8 attempt. He's got to wedge in there somewhere.
Well, if anyone's going to do it, it's Christian, I think. And talking of which, his fellow compatriot, Gustav Iden from Norway as well, had a very impressive 2021, winning the Ironman 70.3 World Championships and also posting a very, very impressive Ironman debut time, 7 hours and 42 minutes in Florida. And as we understand, is also planning to go after St. George and Kona.
Yeah, so those are two Norwegians we will definitely be watching in 2022. And add to that list, the other Olympic gold medalist, Dame Flora Duffy.
Well, I mean, where do we start with Flora? Olympic gold medal, ex-Terra World Champion, WTCS World Champion. I mean, there is now some talk of her stepping up to 70.3 distance.
Yeah, more than a little talk. She did 70.3 South Africa last year, and this year she was talking about it to try and qualify for 70.3 World Champs. So I think she might be aiming for 70.3 World Champs. But then on the other hand, she's got that WTCS World title she wants to defend, and with Tokyo happening a year late, Paris 2024 is looming ever closer, so is she just going to focus on her gold medal defense there? We don't know, but we'll definitely be watching Flora in 2022.
Yeah, that Olympic cycle has just come around so much quicker because of that. It's very, very exciting. Well, another athlete that has caused a bit of a stir this year is the young Taylor Knibb.
Yeah, Taylor Knibb definitely had a breakout year in 2021. After 16th place at the Tokyo Olympics, which we'll admit we didn't really notice, she then got silver in the mixed relay, so we knew her name. She then followed that up with second at 70.3 Boulder, before absolutely obliterating the field at Edmonton WTCS, where she rode 2 minutes into the whole field, including Flora Duffy. That secured her an invite to the Collins Cup, where she promptly beat her matchup, none other than Daniela Reef. So then she was really on our radar, and she followed that up with a podium at the 70.3 World Champs. She had a pretty big year, didn't she?
Well, a bit like Blumenfeld, will she stick to WTCS racing, or will she go where she can win anything at 70.3? Well, those are certainly some athletes that we were going to be watching anyway. Now let's look at each distance on its own, starting with the short course athletes in WTCS. Firstly, we have Léonie Perriot from France, 27 years old, second in the grand final, only Taylor Knibb ahead of her, and beat Flora, and also a very impressive 5th place in Tokyo.
Definitely one to watch this coming year. Also one to watch this coming year, Max Schuder from Switzerland. 9th at Tokyo, EU sprint distance champion last year. He's had a pretty good year last year, so we're definitely watching him. He also is coached by Brett Sutton and was the Swiss 10 kilometer champ with a time of 28:51, which is pretty impressive. And he just spent 6 weeks in Aten, Kenya, training with the top runners, and he was already a sub 29 10K runner. So definitely be watching him this coming year.
Well, talking of running, we have Beth Potter from Great Britain, who obviously has come from a running background, but has shown that her swimming and biking is nothing to be laughed at, as she has taken back-to-back victories in World Cups in Korea in October, plus 7th at the WTCS Abu Dhabi event and in Leeds. And also we saw her doing very, very well at the Super League Arena Games early in the year.
Yeah, she's been working on her swim-bike combo to put on top of that run, and I think she's definitely one to watch. Another name to watch in 2022, an African name, which we don't often mention in triathlon. Jawad Abdelmoula from Morocco has only started 8 World Triathlon races, and he's won 3 of them, including a World Cup and 2 Continental Cups. Plus, he was 6th at the Duathlon World Champs in the elite men. So definitely one to watch in 2022 to see if he steps it up in the WTCS series.
Well, it's very, very hard to pick, but I'm sure there are going to be some pretty big breakthrough performances after the pandemic. But also we have Vincent Louis and Taylor Spivey. Both, I guess, disastrous years by their standards, at least. So I'd imagine they're probably looking to set the record straight going into 2022. We're now moving up the distance, but before we just fully jump into middle distance or longer distance, we're actually going to talk about the WTCS short course athletes stepping up the distance.
Well, as you'd expect after an Olympic cycle, you expect some WTCS races to step up a distance and go for the 70.3. And 2 notable names on that front are Johnny Brownlee and Katie Zaferis. Obviously, big names in WTCS, and they've made their intentions to step up to 70.3 well known. So what can they do? Well, we're waiting to see in 2022.
Well, yeah, and then on to some of the 70.3 athletes that we think you should make a note of. We've got Miki Tagholt from Denmark, just 27 years old, took 4th place at the Ironman 70.3 World Championships this year and 2nd in Ironman 70.3 California. And in doing so, jumped up to 28th in the PTO World Rankings.
Yeah, I think you probably see that going a bit higher next year. Also notable, Mika Nuert from Germany. He's only 21 years old. He was 11th at the 70.3 World Championships and the winner of 70.3 Les Sables in France. He jumped up to 37th on the PTO rankings at the end of the year. So again, a big name to watch out for, and he's got quite a run on him.
And then we have Marjolaine Pierre, who has really jumped onto our radar as of late, actually won the relatively unknown Triathlon Royan, which was a PTO-supported event early this year, and then followed that up with a win in the 70.3 Portugal. But it was the podium at Clash Daytona with the fastest run by 2 minutes that really, really grabbed our attention. And yeah, again, very young, just 22 years old.
Yeah, and with the addition of the PTO Tour, 2 new really big races with lots of money, I'm sure we're going to see quite a few people stepping up a distance and trying to make their name in that middle distance category.
Yeah.
But finally, on to the Ironman. And as we have said, there are 2 Ironman World Championship races in 2022, so plenty of opportunity for those long distance specialists to make a name for themselves and put their name out there to the world.
Well, we have Leon Chevalier, just 25 years old, and has jumped up to 22nd in the PTO World Rankings this year. And that's with a 3rd place at Ironman UK, a 1st place from Ombrunman, and a 1st place from Ironman Mallorca, where he beat Cam Worth.
Yeah, he's definitely had a pretty stellar trajectory all of a sudden. Where can that take him in 2022? Remains to be seen. Also, another one to watch, his countryman, Clement Mignon, who is only 22, and he also had a pretty impressive 2021. He got up to PTO ranking 48. He won Alpe d'Huez and Girard Mer, and he was 16th at the 70.3 World Champs. So can a young guy like that step it up the distance? We'll see.
We'll have to see. Well, another person I'm going to throw in, who is a name that many of us are familiar with, is Laura Philipp. I mean, she placed 4th at Kona in 2019, but obviously there's been no World Championships since. But she is unbeatable at Ironman Austria and Ironman Finland, both with the fastest runs.
Yeah, those runs are definitely going to turn some heads. She ran a 2:44 and a 2:52, which, I mean, honestly, those are men's winning run times. It's very impressive, and definitely someone who the contenders for Kona should definitely be looking at this year at St. George and at Kona.
Definitely. And next on the list we have none other than Javier Gomez.
Yeah, the evergreen Javier Gomez. He was the 11th at Kona in 2018, and then he won Ironman Malaysia in 2019 in really hot conditions. So we're really excited to see what he could do. And then, well, pandemic hit and derailed all his plans, but he is definitely planning for the long course this year. So what can he do at St. George and Kona?
Oh, I'm a big fan of Javier Gomez. He's the versatile man.
Yeah, but he's 38 years old, so how much more can he do?
Well, also we have Alistair Brownlee. Needs very little introduction, although 2020 and 2021 were maybe his finest years. Very little happened for him. A bit of a write-off really due to injury.
Well, yeah, he didn't qualify for the Olympic Games, did he, at that Leeds? And straight after that, he was like, well, I've got to sort out everything else. And he had surgery on his Achilles, which put him back a bit. But definitely he's been building since then, and he's got his eye on some long course racing in 2022.
Yeah, well, he actually qualified for the Ironman World Championships back in 2019 with a very impressive win at Ironman Western Australia in a time of 7 hours and 45 minutes. So he will be racing, hopefully, at the Ironman World Championships in St George. So does the course suit him? Well, we'll just have to see.
Well, we've tried to cover our bases here, and hopefully we've done a good job. Well, I guess we'll find out later in the year. No doubt there'll be someone who surprises us and no one saw it coming, except maybe you.
Yeah, so if you have someone you think is going to turn some heads in 2022, let us know. Drop it down in the comments section down below and we'll add it to our list and keep an eye on them for this year. And don't go adding the likes of Jan Frodeno, Lucy Charles-Barkley.
Yeah, we're going to be watching them anyway. We're not going to be able to avoid them. They're definitely going to be in the front of some of those races. Yeah. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we can let you know when our predictions come true. When they do, because they will.
Always.